Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We provide fan-oriented and analytic discussions on a variety of animated shows, movies, and anime. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Sam Quattro.
Hello.
Today, Sam and I will be discussing Boy and the World, the 2013 question mark Brazilian film by director Ale Abreu. It is nominated for a 2015 Best Animated Feature Oscar, and Sam and I just watched it, and we are going to get into all of the crazy details of this movie, because this movie is very weird. We're Sam and I are intending to cover every Best Picture, Best Animated Feature. I think I said that.
Yeah.
Oscar nominated film here on the Overly Animated Podcast. This is the fourth one we're doing. We've done Inside Out, Marnie, and No Melissa already. And now we're doing Boy in the World, and we're going to do Shaun and the Sheep movie later. So overlyanimated.com is where you can find out everything about this podcast. A lot of prefaces here, I think, to this podcast. Number one is you don't know what this movie is because no one knows what this movie is, and you're not going to find this in theaters. So don't not listen to this because like you haven't seen it and you can't watch it in theaters, because you're not going to find it in theaters. If you want to watch this, you're going to have to find it. And that's all I'll say about that. Like that's the only way. There's like no other way to watch this movie. So
Yeah.
that's just what you're going to have to do. Number two, you can list like spoilers for the entire movie, but this isn't a movie that there's spoilers for. So you can just listen to the podcast even if you haven't seen the film, probably. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Probably.
Probably. There's some stuff that happens at the end, but like it's all abstract. This is a very abstract movie. So you can just listen to it, right? Number three, I'm going to go out and say that this podcast will not be suitable for younger audiences. This is this movie is it's not an adult movie, but I also think it's like not a kid's movie.
Well, why don't you say that about every other the core podcast at all?
Yeah, but like I don't know. At the beginning, this is like, oh, this is a kid's movie, but no. But it's yeah. So I'm just gonna say, podcast not suitable for younger audiences. So I want to be free to curse on this, basically. Okay. Okay. So, and also I'm drunk. Okay. So let's get let's get into Boy in the World. So, okay, also, it's a 2013 film, and it's nominated for a 2015 Oscar. I forgot to pull up my Academy Rules page because I want to discuss the rules logistics of this film.
Yeah, I told that to Dylan, and I was like, how is this? How?
We are definitely at some point discussing like how this is eligible for an Oscar. Like,
you are way too hype right now, dude.
I'm pretty hyped, dude. This movie was a crazy experience watching. Like,
I'm not all that hype.
I'm pretty hyped for this. Okay, like, here's what I want to do first, Sam. I want to read the Wikipedia plot description. Like, it's like 4 lines because I have no idea what just happened. Okay.
So you want to be me?
It's like me, except I'm reading it after the movie instead of before.
Okay.
Okay, so let's read Boy in the World's plot description. Kuka, who they never say his name, so I don't know how they know his name, is a boy who lives in a distant world in a small village in the interior of his mythical country. One day, he sees his father leaving in search of work, embarking on a train towards an unknown capital. The weeks that follow are of anguish and confusing memories. Until then, one night, a breath of wind breaks into his bedroom window and takes the boy to a distant and magical place. What? That's not what I just saw.
I think that's an okay description of what I just saw.
What's this breath of wind part?
I don't know.
What? Like his dad definitely leaves on a train. I remember that happening.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about this movie. This movie is like one of those films. It starts off and it's like super minimalist. I'm like, okay, it's going to be like one of those things that like Sam's talked about before, where it's just like stick figures and they're doing types of stuff. You've recommended it on the podcast before. Yeah.
I forget if it's called Such a Beautiful Day or What a Beautiful Day. But
it's gonna be like one of those where it's just stick figures and stuff. But then it gets like super complex animation, and it's like, and then it's like I don't know. How would you describe how would you describe this? It's super, super abstract, this movie.
Yeah. I don't know. It felt sort of like I'm viewing the world through the eyes of a child.
Okay. I had a whole speech ready about that. You're right. Dude, we're on point. We're on the same wavelength here. By the way, the poster for this movie says dazzling, exhilarating, vibrant. Do you agree with those three descriptors?
Dazzling is a word.
Dude, I
Um,
agree. Vibrant, I think, is very true about this movie. That's the only one I would agree with.
yeah, I agree.
Like the other two are like okay, okay. So here's my experience. First of all, like I'm pretty drunk. Like let's just get that.
Oh, yeah.
So like watching this movie is like the only better way I can recommend to watch this movie is high. Like that's this. I can imagine that this would be a crazy movie to watch high. Like 100. But I had a pretty crazy experience here. And in the beginning, this movie's really boring and dumb. And then, and it's like, it's the entire time it's super beautiful and it's like super colorful and I love the animation. But, um, as it gets like deeper into the movie, it starts to have like more complex meaning. And like in my head, the entire time, I'm like, okay, like this is like a communist critique of capitalism, like as a joke. And then it
Yeah.
starts to actually be like a critique of capitalism. And I'm like so happy. And it's crazy. Um,
Yeah, it had like definitely like critique about like capitalism and industrialism
dude, I was so happy.
and
It
stuff.
started to like have an actual crazy meaning and it was the best. But I don't know. It's one of these movies that's like not narratively solid. Like it doesn't have like a traditional narrative, um, and those aren't really my specialties. Like I think that this is more of something where it's like I'm like okay Sam, this is more like a work of art than a narrative. So like I feel like I should be defaulting to you on most of this.
Well, I'll be here.
Do you agree with that though? That it's more like a work of
Um,
like narrative is a work of art, but like I
yeah.
feel like I
It's more like I understand what you mean. It's more concept driven than narrative driven.
like I feel like the narrative is very small part of art in general is the one thing I feel capable and I feel like I have any sort of expertise speaking on like narrative specifically within art. Um but like so like I think narrative is art, but I feel like this mostly falls outside of the realms of narrative for the most part.
Well, narrative better be art. I've been told to do projects based off of narrative a lot through my school career.
I
Um,
mean do you agree with that? Do you think that like this film is like mostly not doesn't have a narrative?
I mean, it does have a narrative. It's there. I mean, you have there's like definitely a story going on, especially with like the train and like the dad and the parents and shit. Um,
Yeah. But like in the beginning, like the dad leaves on the train and then it
yeah,
doesn't pay off until the very end.
yeah,
Okay, so we follow this boy the entire time who's apparently named Kuka, right?
hmm
This movie has no dialogue. There's the parents speak and the version Sam and I watched did not have subtitles. I do not think that that was actually Portuguese. I think that was
I was reading it's Portuguese backwards.
yeah, yeah. I that's actually what I thought it was backwards, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's like Charlie Brown speak, right? Like the parents are
Wah,
talking.
wah,
So
wah,
yeah, yeah,
wah,
that's
wah,
what
wah.
it totally what I thought it was. So like this movie doesn't have dialogue, and it's really just this abstract like visual representation of a journey of this boy. And most of the time he's young until like the last 5 minutes when he like turns old randomly at the end, right? And
Yeah.
it's just him and I for the first like hour, this movie's like 80 minutes. For the first hour, I basically have no idea what's going on. And in the last 20 minutes, it kind of is concrete. Um, he's like, then his dad comes home, but like, who's the guy he's with when he's not with his dad, like in the city, right?
Some
The
dude.
guy with the beanie. But then he becomes that guy because then he gets the beanie.
That's maybe it's him from the future.
Dude,
Maybe it's a
that's
time
exactly what I
travel.
think it is. Yeah. So this movie's really fucking weird. Let's just get that out of the way. Like, I have no idea if this is good or not. Um,
I have no idea whether it's good or not.
like in the beginning, I was like, okay, this is really bad. And then in the middle, I was like, I don't know if this is fucking good or not. And then at the end, I was like, this is crazy good. Like this is so good. But I don't know. What's your read? I feel like I'm more hype on this movie than you are, but it's also
Well,
just about our states, right? So
yeah.
I don't know.
Um,
What did you think of Boy in the World? I haven't asked you yet.
yeah, you haven't. So I think one of the things to keep in mind with humanity and such, it's easier for us to swallow narratives more and to latch on to things that we can recognize more so than things we can't recognize. Um, so that sort of took me out of the movie a little bit because, to be honest, tonight I felt like watching a movie that, like, was like a nice story and like not like a nice story, but like had like a story.
I did not
Um,
know that this movie would have no story. I knew nothing about this, right? Yeah.
um, I'm gonna say I admire that it's a feature length film, but at the same time, I'm not necessarily sure that it works as one. I think like for I don't think this is gonna win the Oscar, number one.
Well, one, no, but
Um,
that's not really super relevant.
it's more like if it's too like experimental for the Oscar crowd.
Well, okay, briefly, and we'll get into. We're gonna do a best animated feature category preview podcast once we talk about all five. So this is more for that one. But the fact that the
Uh,
Academy nominated this movie is crazy. This is super like I really respect the best like the animation branch of the Academy. Like I actually think that they're the best critical group. Like the Annies are super dumb, and I actually think the animation branch of the Academy is in the best position to like actually crown the best
um,
animated movie of the year. And like they nominated this movie. This is a Brazilian abstract, weird, crazy shit movie, right? Like how did they nominate this?
I feel like I want to disagree with that given their past nominations.
Explain that.
Like, let's see. Last year they didn't nominate Book of Life or the Lego Movie,
Not
which were
name. Not.
two.
I love that they didn't nominate the Lego movie because
Okay, I really like the Lego
I
Movie,
really
so
don't
shut
like
up.
the Lego movie. Well, we need to talk about that in the future, but I hate that movie. But
But they didn't nominate Book of Life. Nominated a bunch of other dumb stuff. Second off, they usually give the movie to an Oscar to Pixar.
yeah,
Like that's the majority of what I'm seeing here.
yeah. Well, so yes, I think they have a slight bias.
2010, they only nominated three movies.
Yeah, well, that's Academy rules. That's not them.
No, they've nominated more than three movies before.
No, it's Academy rules. Like if there aren't like 30 movies eligible for the
That's dumb.
thing, then there's only three. But if there's like over 30, then it's five. Um, I like yeah, I think they have a slight bias towards Pixar, but at the same time, I also think Pixar was the most years the Pixar film was the best animated movie. Looking back, but like not all of them. Anyway, this is
Well, Big Hero 6 won up against Princess Kaguya last year, so
yeah, I mean
I disagree.
it's not perfect, but like their nominations are better than their winners. I agree with that. Like they nominated this movie. That's I'm not saying.
Brave won over Paranorman. I
Well, I
disagree.
haven't seen Paranorman.
Oh, Paranorman's great
Like
though.
this. I don't think any other body nominates Boy in the World, and I don't necessarily think this is like a great movie, but like I really commend them for watching this movie and for thinking like, wow, this is deserving of praise because I think it is like to a certain extent. Um, I think at the very least, like this is super artistically satisfying to watch. Like visually, not artistically, visually. Like I love like the colors and like the symbolism in the animation, and it's just really clever visually, and it needs to be because it has no dialogue, right? So it needs to carry some weight in its visuals.
Um,
Um, it's I here's the problem. I think the first hour of Boy in the World has essentially no concrete narrative. So how am I supposed to really like this film when it doesn't have a narrative? The last 20 minutes I think do have a narrative though, and it kind of drew me back in.
yeah.
Like there's one this is the craziest shit. There's one section at the end which is like live action. And it's just like a montage of like the worst shit happening in the world. And it's like here's like the glaciers melting and here's like shitty capitalism and like right? Doesn't that section happen?
Yeah, it does
That's
happen.
so
You're right.
crazy. How did that make it into this movie?
Apparently, again, I was reading. Uh, the director was originally making a documentary about that type of stuff, but it sort of turned into this.
I have not read that. That's so
Yeah,
crazy.
it's on IMDb.
What about what? Like all the bad things in the
Um,
world?
Give me a second.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he was doing a documentary about Latin America, and then it was just like, oh, I'm gonna make an animated film now because that's where the direction is going. So
Yeah, but he's like an animation person, L.A. Abreu. Like I'm reading his Wikipedia. He had another animated feature film before this, and then he had short films before that.
well, maybe sometimes documentaries have animated segments.
And
Maybe
he was
that's
like
why
going to
he
pivot
switched to
into a
this.
documentary, but then he's like, nah, let's just do this. By the way,
Yeah,
this movie is O Mieno Io Mundo. I should have said that in the beginning. That's like the
yeah.
actual title of the film. And it's like Portuguese, and I don't know Portuguese, so I'm not pronouncing that right. But yeah, like, okay, how would you describe the message of this movie?
Stay a kid forever.
Okay, let's talk about that. Okay, you're right. I pivoted away from that. So I was gonna go on this rant. Like, okay, so when I'm watching this movie, I'm like thinking about things that I can say on the podcast because this movie is really boring for most of the time. So I'm like actually like monologuing in my head about things to say on the podcast instead of like actually paying attention for the most part. And one of the things I'm monologuing about is this whole kids perspective thing. And you brought it up, so we're on the same wavelength on this, which like it makes sense because we're super tight and stuff, right? So
Yeah.
um, so like, uh, here's my opinion on this like kids perspective bullshit. Like, and you can tell already because I used the word bullshit. But like most films, there's like one critic who says like this is like when there's like a kid in the film and like it's at all abstract. They're like this is a film from the perspective of a child, and like
I was thinking about that too.
I feel like most of the time that's just complete bullshit. Um, But here's the crazy thing: like we have this film, which I think actually is from the perspective of a child, like very obviously, like this is from the perspective of a child. But also this year, 2015, we have, in my opinion, the best child perspective movie of all time, which we both see in Room. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
like that movie, like actually does the child perspective thing and like does crazy great directorial narrative stuff with it.
I want to watch it again.
I want to watch it again too. Like there's parts of it that are like just actually fascinatingly from the perspective of a child. So it's really interesting that we have a movie to talk about that's also from the perspective of a child. When we have like arguably one of the best child perspective movies of all time, also this year, even though this is a 2013 film, which we'll talk about later. But like I don't know what do you think of the child like clearly this is just this one kid the entire time and it's like him experiencing the world and all like the problems with the world. um I don't know, it's do you think the movie is abstract because it's from a child's perspective or do you think that's like not a thing? I don't know.
I'm not sure. Uh, and to be honest, I don't really know.
I don't really
I
care that much.
I was thinking more about it. I feel like the movie might be more about like more about being a human than it is about
That's interesting.
um, because like
Yeah, because like the
yeah,
message isn't child specific, right? Because the
yeah,
message is super critical of industrialism and capitalism. So
yeah,
it's like there's a solid eighth of this movie which is spent on like a plantation or something, right?
yeah.
And they're picking cotton. Is that what they're doing? I don't know.
Evidently, that's what
It
they're
looks like
doing.
cotton, but this movie's abstract, so it could be anything. And like and that morphs into then he goes to the city and he sees what the cotton's used for and it's like evil and then like for me the best part of the movie was like when we realized that like industrialism is represented by this black bird and then this rainbow bird earlier which we saw is like the people and like
Mhm.
eventually the rainbow bird breaks into like a bunch of pieces and and at one point the rainbow bird and the blackbird are fighting and that's like the climax of the movie to me and that's like the rise of the bourgeois class versus
The bourgeoisie, yeah,
the bourgeois
the
versus
bougie.
versus versus like the industrialism and like the ruling class, right? Like I actually think
Yeah,
that's what this movie's about. That's so crazy. Like I think that's genuinely what this movie's about.
yeah.
Do you actually agree with that?
I agree. Yeah, I was thinking that though pretty much the whole time I was watching it.
Representative birds fighting. That's great. I love. I can't like at all I mean, I can criticize the movie, but I can't at all say that it's not good. Like if you have like a bourgeois class bird fighting like a ruling class bird, like I'm gonna love the movie, right? This is so crazy.
The bourgeoisie is the ruling class.
Or I don't know, whatever bourgeois
We're
means.
oh my god.
The communist, the uprising class versus the person you're rising against class.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Do you think this movie is advocating communism?
I don't know communism specifically.
I don't think it
Um,
is, but
I think more like okay. So you remember how Princess Kaguya was like more like a like it was how do I put this historical base
I
like
forgot what Princess Kaguya was for like a hot second. By the way,
yeah, it's the movie
I
that we
remember now.
watched on.
Yeah,
That was like 3 hours long.
yeah.
It sort of like reminds me of that. Sort of like I don't want to say like simpler times, but
I could, oh, dude, I can see it because like that movie's from the perspective of Kaguya, and like, but it's about like a lot more, right?
yeah. So it kind of reminds me of that. Just sort of going back to where we were more uh I don't know, before the Industrial Revolution hit us in the
Do you think?
face.
Okay, so Kaguya, one of our big takeaway themes was that it's like this is super not relevant, but
I wish bourgeoisie was not French so I could spell it.
Takahata's films are all about returning how cities are evil and like rusticism is good, right?
Oh, that's the word, like rustic. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's what Takahata's film. Like you got that impression from this film. Do you think like the city's the evil part?
I don't think it's necessarily evil. I don't
This
know.
podcast must be crazy to listen to if you haven't seen the film because
Yeah.
like this film is crazy. So I. Uh, I didn't get the impression that like the city was the evil part. Like I thought it was like I actually don't know. Like what is the evil part? It's whoever's making his dad work at or
Yes, yes.
at that plantation, right? Like and
Yeah.
then like they take him away and then he can't stay with his family. Like the big positive in the film was his mom and dad.
Yeah.
And at the end his mom's still there and his dad never comes back. And like
It's very sad.
they plant this like circle thing, which was the abstract thing in the beginning, and like it blossoms into a tree, but then there's like blends to something else, and then like the ending of this movie is crazy. I thought the ending was like super cathartic. Like there's a lot of stuff that pays off, but only in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
IMO. And just I don't know. So I don't know. Did you like what was your experience watching it?
Well, different from yours.
So the first
Um,
60 minutes I was like super bored.
yeah, I was feeling bored and like, we should have watched the Sheep
Yeah,
movie.
we probably should have done the
Um, and I was like, oh, how am I gonna make it through this? I feel like this is a movie you should see in theaters, not
Well, there's no
uh
way to. That's not relevant because it's never going to be in
exactly,
theaters again ever. So
exactly.
yeah,
So like, what's the point? Um, I don't know. Like it picked up a little like once we got to the city and stuff, but I don't know. It was just like going back to the narrative thing I was talking about. Like narratives are easier to follow. And this is a narrative, but there's like not recognizable elements like dialogue or stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm really
it's
tired.
it's where we have different. If you couldn't tell by now, Sam's like super tired and I'm like super hyped. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm.
Um.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I am like I had a super positive experience overall, but at the same time I was really bored and I don't think this movie's substantial. So
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say at some point before you interrupted me.
I
Um,
apologize. I don't know.
no, it's not your fault. It's well, maybe it is your fault. Um,
Wow. Wow.
I feel like while I admire it for being a feature, I feel like it would have worked better as a short.
So yeah, you did say that. My response was
I
like,
don't remember
well,
saying it, but
you
yeah.
said the feature part, and you didn't
I
say
was
the
definitely
short.
thinking about saying the short
You
thing.
said something that I implied was that. So I was like, okay, I kind of agree because I was bored. This movie seems longer than it is, but at the same time, the best part is the ending. So like, I guess you cut out some of the middle and then you make it shorter.
Like 20 minutes. Make it like a 20-minute short.
I don't think it would have worked 20 minutes because I think that the ending is super cathartic because there's so much in the middle.
Hmm.
Like how I don't. Then again, there's only 20 minutes of actual story in this movie. So maybe you cut out the abstract parts.
Yeah, but then you don't have all that beautiful shit that people like.
Yeah. I mean, you can still have a lot of it.
The
There's one
birds on
point.
the
Okay,
street.
by the way, I'm starting to remember stuff. There's like one point where we see like animals from the distance, and it's like, oh, there's giraffes, and then it's like, no, the giraffes are machines, and and industrialism is terrible. And there's one point when he's like on a boat and like crates are falling, and he has to like escape from being crushed by the industrialist crates.
Hmm.
And like, oh my goodness, I love that this movie exists though. I can't believe that this is a thing that I just watched. I will say, like, I love the use of color here.
Yeah.
There's one part. Oh, there's one part that's like inverted colors, and it's like crazy tripping, and it's like a nightmare sequence or something. But all of this is like not real. So how can there be a nightmare sequence when none of it's real? So it's in. I don't even know. Just stuff flashes on the screen, and it's crazy weird. And then like the best part, obviously, is like the live action part where where it's just oh, here's all the problems in the world. But I don't know. This probably sounds crazy, but this movie's crazy.
There's a lot of crazy
Did
things.
you were you as a person who's more exposed to art than I am, were you particularly impressed by these by like the colors or by like the use or by like the abstractness or stuff like that?
I was, yeah. I was like, wow, this is good. This is different. But then again, I go to art school and I see a lot of this shit all the time. So it's like,
So it's like
I'm really sick of art. I'm sorry, but I am. Don't put that on my resume.
say I'm really sick of artist.
Yeah.
Comma artist, yeah.
Comma, getting my BFA in a
It's
couple months.
I don't know. I loved I feel like this movie had like the most colors that stood out to me. That's a weird thing to say, but like it was like I
The
do
most
think vibrant is
colors.
very accurate. Like I feel like it was more vibrant than maybe any movie I've ever seen.
The most colors.
The most colors used. Um
Ever.
and like ever the most colors ever. Yeah. What do you think of like the theme of family before we start talking about Oscar eligibility? Because that's our next topic. What do you think of the theme
See,
of family in this? Because like the only like positive in this boy's life is like his mom and dad, right? His skeleton looking father.
you sort
His father reminded me of the guys from that video game that we played. The skeletons in that video game that we played.
Undertale?
Undertale, yeah.
My God.
His dad was Hans, right?
Hans. Hans.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like his name?
No, there's two skeletons in
No,
Undertale.
there's Sans,
Oh, Sans, not Hans.
who's
I
the
thought it was
short one.
Hans.
No, the
I don't
Sans
care.
as
I
like
don't
common
care. What did you
Sans.
think of his parents?
And there's another one named Papyrus, as
Yeah,
in
what is his dad Papyrus?
I don't
What do you
know.
think of the theme of family in Boy in the World?
I was gonna get to that, but then you were just like, oh, they look like skeletons in that one video game we played. Um, I thought like you mentioned that thing earlier about how the story was essentially like a kid sort of trying to understand why his father is being taken away from him, and that made me sad. I don't know. I like family's important in life.
Yeah.
Uh, I think like that's sort of what ties all the fantastical uh imagery that we see together is family. I'm really tired.
I don't know. I don't have much to say about the family thing. Like, I guess family is what's important and industrialism is what's terrible.
I guess
Yes.
that's what they say.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Oscar eligibility.
Yeah.
So this movie came out in 2013 and it premiered at a film festival, in the Ottawa International Animation Festival. Interesting. I didn't know that existed. And then it premiered in January 2014 in Brazil commercially. And then I guess, came out in the US here in 2015, but I don't see
Like
that
in December.
in December. I guess they premiered in one theater, right?
That was on IMDb, yeah.
Okay, I don't see that on Wikipedia. So, Let's talk about Oscar eligibility rules because Sam and I researched this because this year, 2016, only yesterday, the 1991 Studio Ghibli film is coming out in the U.S. The first time ever released dub, and I was like, I'm pretty sure this is not going to be eligible for an Oscar.
I think it already premiered in a theater.
I guess it premiered already. Yeah, starring Daisy Ridley, aka Ray. I thought that I thought that this movie, pretty sure this movie's not going to be eligible, but like, let's make sure because its English release is happening in 2016, so maybe it's actually eligible for an Oscar. So I researched the Academy rules.
Oh, it's nationwide. It's gonna be out February 26th.
Okay, good. So it's not yet. You'll all be able to
Came out in
experience.
New York though already.
You'll be able to experience one of Sam and I's favorite movies ever, probably, or at least mine.
Yeah, well, you don't speak
I
for
don't
me.
speak. That's why I said at least mine. In English for the first time. I'm interested to see how they dub that. But I actually thought of the pineapple scene during this movie. There's one scene where they're eating something, and I was like, dude, the pineapple scene.
Yep.
Yep. So Section 3, Rule 3 in the official Oscar rules, number 2. A motion picture first theatrically. This is for the Oscars last year. So the date you have to say do everything a year in advance, right? Um, Let me wait. Okay, so the required Los Angeles County qualifying run must begin between January 1st and the midnight of January 1st, 2013 and midnight of January 31st, 2015. Okay, this is this year. So it says a motion picture first theatrically exhibited inside the US prior to the Los Angeles County qualifying run shall be eligible for submission provided the prior exhibition is a theatrical preview or festival screening or takes place in a commercial motion picture theater after January 1st, 2014. No non-theatrical public exhibition or distribution may occur prior to the first day of the Los Angeles County qualifying run. So this film is eligible for this year's Oscars because it aired theatrically in Brazil in January 2014, which barely met the Academy deadline, and then it aired in one theater in Los Angeles County at the end of 2015. Therefore, it's eligible for the 2016 Oscars.
Oh boy, that's a lot.
That's like barely met the strict deadline. And no, Only Yesterday is not eligible because it aired theatrically in Japan in 1991. So no. What do you think?
That's like
I mean, obviously it's eligible because it got nominated, but we're just gonna confirm this.
that's like upping your like font size like a point or two, and like making your margins as like wide as you possibly can.
I guess.
Like I gotta meet the
What
requirements.
benefit does this movie being nominated for an Oscar have financially on anyone involved in this movie? Probably nothing.
Probably something good. I mean, it's like
Unless
they can sell DVDs. Like,
I guess
hey,
DVDs, but like they're not going to release it again. So I don't know.
DVDs.
Yes, DVDs, but like who's buying this? I don't know. Nobody knows what this is. I don't. Maybe this is big in Brazil. I don't think so. I don't know.
No.
G Kids released it, I guess, here. It says I wouldn't know this from the article, the Wikipedia article, but it says G Kids animated films tagged at the bottom. So
Yeah.
okay, Boy and the World. What else do we have to say about this?
Um. Nah. It's okay. It's not gonna win.
So, yeah, but like, who cares? Like,
cares?
Inside Out's gonna win, but who cares? Like, that's not necessarily the best animated film of the year. We'll discuss that in our thing. See how good Shaun of the Sheep is. That's next.
That's probably not gonna be any good.
Probably not. I thought this would be better. That's why I did this one now.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy I watched this like drunk because it was great.
I don't feel like my life has been changed.
No, I'm gonna. It's not like it's not. It's not like super great, and I'm gonna like remember it forever. But yeah.
It killed some time.
Oh, music! There's two recurring music themes that happen throughout the movie that were like really good. Like, and I love
The
music.
flute.
There's like the flute one, and then there's like yeah, and then yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the flute one too, which is represented by that little object. Which all of that made no sense unless you've seen the movie. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything else to say.
Me neither. I'm just waiting for you to finish.
Wow, rude. Dazzling, exhilarating, vibrant. A film of beauty, wonder, seamless sadness, and joy. Seamless sadness.
Seamless sadness.
Yeah, there you go. If you have seen this movie, which first of all, only 50 people are going to listen to this, and
Oh, I feel like that's less.
well, yeah. I mean, our Anomalies of podcast was like one of our lowest viewed. But like obviously, because no one's seen that movie, right? And less people are going to have seen this one. So if you actually have seen this and you've listened to this point, let me know what you thought of this movie. Because I'm very curious. I don't think I would be able to look. I mean, we can check this on Rotten Tomatoes. I actually haven't done that yet.
Do it now.
Yeah, let's look this up.
Oh, my shoulders hurt.
Boy and whatever. The World is World. I doubt that this is many reviews. There's 29 reviews, 93% positive. Okay, let's read some of the things. The pencil and crayon drawings come to vivid, colorful life to tell a more complex, if hardly subtle, story than you would expect.
Hardly subtle.
I agree, it's not subtle. There's that one sequence, it's not subtle. Boy and the World is dazzlingly colorful and alive, often resembling a more elaborate version of the kinds of childlike drawings you probably have stuck to your refrigerator door right now. That's a dumb quote.
Yeah. Yeah.
The wonder of life's shortest season, childhood, is explored in Boy in the World, a magical and often bleak parable about societal clashes. Okay, that ending part I agree with. Boy in the World reminds viewers that an animated feature can be more intimate and personal than the big budget CG extravaganzas produced by Hollywood studios. Okay, I guess I agree with that. It's hard to put into words the wildly imagined beauty of director Ali Abrou's drawing, with crayons and other tools kids might use. You're assuming that this was colored with crayons. I kind of doubt it was. Paints an impressionistic canvas of unease and disquiet, of hope and wonder, filled with glorious music. Magical, though sometimes it's black magic. What?
Black magic.
What? Yeah, so as expected, these are not very substantial. It's like some lost, globally conscious color fest from the 70s reinvented with Mr. Abrou's verve. I agree with that. It feels like some weird, like, 70s or 80s movie. The wonder of life's shortest season. Oh, I already read that one. That was the dumbest one. There you go. So, congrats to the animation branch of the Academy for nominating this because it's really weird.
Good job.
I guess. Good job.
I guess.
Let us know what you thought of this. I'm Dylan Hysen. That's Sam Quattro. You can find out everything about this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can support us on patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our current patrons, Shayna, Mitch Cordell, Beatrice, Nate, and DJ Min Rachel, aka Hey Nephew from Mitch Cordell University, Beatrice Exchange, Buzz Lightyear, Mailman, and Rachel Rose. Sam and I will be back to cover Shaun and the Sheep movie at some point. I don't even know if that's what it's called. Is movie in the title of that movie?
I don't know. It's just like sheep.
Shaun of the Sheep. Like
Shaun of the Sheep.
Shaun of the Dead. Shaun the Sheep. It's not actually a movie.
So it's a zombie.
Yeah, it's Shaun of the Sheep movie. Yeah. That movie, let's see how long this is. Wow. I can't find it. Oh, it was a thing before. Okay. Oh, it actually is Shaun the Sheep movie because it was a thing before it was a thing.
It was like a TV show.
Yeah. So that's what I was on before. Shaun the Sheep movie.
So it's like a reverse Jimmy Neutron.
85 minutes. Jimmy Neutron was a movie first. That's weird.
I don't think it's really weird at all.
It's weird. It's distributed by Studio Canal, who didn't they do Code Lyoko?
I don't know. Why do you ask me these things? I thought it was done by like the same people who did like Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah, but like this is like a weird production studio. Canal did. I don't know. I feel like that was like a dumb thing that I just said. Yeah. They did Source Code. They did Poppy Hill. Okay, so
they did Source Code, the Jake Gyllenhaal movie.
Dude, I love that movie.
I like that movie too. I saw it in my chemistry class for some reason.
What's his face is great. He did Moon. Did you see Moon?
Duncan Jones?
Yeah, Duncan Jones.
AKA David Bowie's son.
Oh, he is David Bowie's son. Dude, I love Duncan Jones. Moon is so good.
I've never seen it.
So good, that movie. You need to see that movie.
Maybe some other time.
Shaun the Sheep movie. Studio 8 is... I don't know. I ignore the dumb things I said.
Source Code.
Source Code, dude.
Shaun the Sheep movie.
Production studios are
Bigfoot,
weird. They just like finance a bunch of shit, so it's like not.
directed by Duncan Jones.
Dude, Duncan Jones. I love Duncan Jones. There's like 10. There's like 10. This is the dumb boy. There's like 10 sci-fi directors who are like up and coming, great like sci-fi director that like you'll see on websites. And like the guy who recently did Ex Machina is on that list, and Duncan Jones is on that list, and it's like, yeah.
It came out a while ago. It came out like.
He's doing Duncan Jones's next movie is the Warcraft movie coming out this year. World of Warcraft. The
Well, hopefully you're not a Yoable Duncan.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't.
We're not talking about that. Yeah, I know what that is. We're not talking about Okay. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next. Our next podcasts are.
We should podcast on the Super Mario Brothers movie.
No, we're not doing that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's podcast on Legend of Zelda, the animated series.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Excuse me,
Princess. Notable thing to come out of that.
Let's do a podcast on the animated sections of the CDI Zelda games.
I thought this was the Shaun the Sheep movie. I thought this was the Paranorman studio. Is it not?
Hold on. I need to Wikipedia this now. Give me a second.
I thought it was.
Shaun.
Not immediately seeing it. I'm like pretty sure. Yeah, it's Leica. I thought it was Leica.
Yeah, it was Leica.
But it's not Leica. It's actually not. Wow, weird.
What?
Interesting.
Give me a tickety talk here, boy.
No, it's not Leica. I'm on the Leica page, and it's not them.
It's the Wallace and Gromit people.
But that's different than the Leica people, isn't it?
I guess. I don't know. It's Aardman Animations who did Shaun the Sheep.
Or no, I need to look this up. Hold on.
They did like Chicken Run and like.
It's the Chicken Run studio. Okay, that's different, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Aardman Animations.
Aardman Animations. Oh my god, Chicken Run. We need a podcast on Chicken Run, dude. Curse of the Were-Rabbit. I saw Curse of the Were-Rabbit in theaters in 2005.
I've never seen that movie.
The Pirates. Oh, I always imagined that movie was better than like it looked, because this is all. Oh, I thought Leica and the Chicken Run studio were the same.
No.
Apparently they're different. Okay, now I want to actually watch this because I want to see Pirates. And I want to podcast about Pirates because I saw that trailer in 2012 like 10 times, and it was like I always like thought it was actually kind of funny, that trailer.
Why don't we podcast about Gumby?
Gumby.
You ever heard of Gumby?
The green thing?
Yeah, he has a movie.
When?
Gumby the movie in 1995.
Oh, no, thank you. Okay, I'm not going to publish this podcast. This is just for fun.
Really?
JK. Maybe.
Really?
Probably JK.
Oh my god.
Okay, thanks for listening, guys. Let us know what you thought
I
of
just wasted like 2 hours of my life.
I'm publishing it, okay? Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Goodbye.